has been provided to the Co-Star, the official newspaper of the Borough of Belmar, and the Asbury Park Press on December 29, 2014, and notice of this meeting is posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence to remember our troops abroad and their families here at home. Thank you. With the council's agreement, I'd like to just change things up a little bit and do our resolution appointing our patrolman in the Borough of Belmar. Is that okay? Sure. All right. Okay. On days. So, I'd like to offer a resolution appointing Peter Speakman, patrolman for Belmar. Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. All right. Peter, come on up. Okay, Peter Speakman, the left hand of the Bible. Raise your right hand. Look at me. I, Peter Speakman.
I, Peter Speakman.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution.
That I will support the Constitution.
Of the United States.
Of the United States.
And the Constitution.
And the Constitution.
Of the State of New Jersey.
Of the State of New Jersey.
And I will bear true faith and allegiance.
And that I will bear true faith and allegiance.
To the same.
To the same.
And to the governments established.
And to the governments established.
In the United States.
In the United States.
And in the state.
And in these states.
Under the authority of the people.
Under the authority of the people.
And that I will faithfully.
That I will faithfully.
Impartially.
And
justly perform.
Justly perform.
All the duties.
All the duties.
As patrolman of the Belmar Police Department.
As patrolman of the Belmar Police Department.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability. So help me God.
Congratulations. Chief, you want to say a few words about our
just a little bit about Peter. He grew up in Voorhees, New Jersey, and became a resident of Belmar in 2012. He graduated from Rutgers and majored in criminal justice. He's been a CLEO here. He was Point Pleasant first, and then Belmar in 2015. And he got married in 2014 to his wife, Holly. I think he's going to make a great asset to the department. He's a hard worker, and I think he's going to be good for all of us. Congratulations. Tonight, if you have nothing to do, he said he wants to spend his money on you. Bar 8 at 6:30.
Bar 8 at 6:30. Yes. And thank you for everyone else from our police department for coming by this morning. We do have an outstanding police department here in Belmar. We're very lucky, and it's nice to have a new addition. It's going to be a part of a great team. So thank you all. Thank you all very much. Oh, wait, Peter. Sorry, I got to sign.
Mucho grande usually.
Sees that kind of comment, but.
There you go.
Next is workshop. Do you have anything for a workshop?
Let's discuss the resolution.
Oh, you want to do that, Council?
Sure, that'd be great.
All right. So can you explain the resolution that's on the calendar for today?
Yes, resolution authorizing the construction of 5th and 10th Avenue pavilions. This is a resolution advanced for your consideration and decision that would essentially authorize the Borough of Belmar to construct the 5th and 10th Avenue pavilions ourselves. The Borough of Belmar would be the GC on the project. We would work with Mazer, our engineer, to provide project management, inspection, and oversight. We would purchase supplies, materials through state contract and the bidding process, following all applicable state and local contract laws. We would hire qualified and skilled workers to perform the work. This would not be our DPW workers per se working on the project. We would hire additional labor skilled in those areas: plumbing, electrical, carpentry. This is a similar model to how Avon built their marina building and their DPW building. It's a model that works in other towns. Spring Lake did something similar, although they use more of their own DPW labor. At this time, our cost projections show that we will save roughly 10% on the project, which, when you're talking about two buildings totaling $6 million, $600,000 in savings is not nothing. And we would proceed with this as quickly as possible. We did receive bids and open bids for the 5th and 10th Avenue pavilions, as you all are aware. That bidding process, that was the third time we have bid these buildings. We only had 3 bidders respond. I think there is something in the industry known as bidder's fatigue. I think we experienced a little bit of that. The bids also were not quite as high quality as we would have liked. There were bidders withdrawing after the opening, bidders asking to change their bid, which of course is not permitted, withdrawing portions of their bid. And so all of those factors combined with our considerations of wanting to return these buildings as quickly and as efficiently as possible led us to this path forward. So we would like to answer any questions that you may have and have a discussion on it for this resolution that's on here today.
And also just so the point of reference, Colleen and I talked about this going back into the late summer, early fall. So she already started the process, particularly with Mazer. I spoke with Mazer, our engineer, directly. They see no problem with this at all, no real challenge with it. They think they're pretty simple buildings. Remember, Mazer engineered them, designed them. They're going to be the project manager on them for Belmar anyway, so they're going to be there, so we'd have to pay them anyway. So when you look at the management of the project, you know, and I don't begrudge the contractors making money, right? And you know, they're always going to mark up whatever the price is on materials, and they're going to make a markup on whatever the labor costs, and that's fair. But if we can save some money, the bids came in, they were okay, but they weren't knock your socks off great. And we think that, you know, that we can manage it, build it, save the money. And again, for a small town like us, you know, 10% on $6 million is a lot of money. And by the way, the 10% is probably pretty conservative because they again, companies don't do these jobs to make 10%, they do it to make more than that. So how much we truly save, we'll know that once everything is completed. But I think 10% is a good conservative approach. So any questions for the PA?
You know, to tell you the truth, I'm not completely sold on it. We worked so hard to get this referendum passed, and then to accept the bids, and then not accept the bids, and go to Mazer, who says they can do it, but they've never done something like this before, building a building in a V zone. I just see that if I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, and we can save 10%, terrific. But if I'm correct, and we run into problems, I mean, we're just gonna get hammered with complaints. Why did you go outside of the realm of accepting the bids? Now, can we resubmit the bids?
We could certainly go out to bid again. It's not uncommon for the process to say, let's reject the bids, let's go back out again. For these pavilions, that would be the fourth time. And I mentioned a little earlier what I believe we suffered this time around, which was bidders fatigue. The first time we bid these buildings, there were 8 to 10 bidders. Second time, 6 to 7. Third time, 3, and 2 admitted to making errors. If we bid again, we could get 1 or none. So, you know, this is always something that, and this came up a lot during the summer, during the lead up to the referendum as well, when people said, why can't you just do what Avon's doing? And that's something Matt and I have talked about for months to suss out and see what would be needed to do. It is within our ability, it is within Mazer's ability to oversee 2 projects of this nature. And it's our fastest way and most cost economical way to get these buildings back.
But Avon built their marina building, not in the V zone, their DPW building, not in the V zone, and they built that gazebo that they call the pavilion, just on the boardwalk, where we're going with something much grander than that. It's going to probably cost a couple, almost $4 million. The bid came in, what, for Taylor Pavilion, the bid came in at 3.4. 3.4. That's a lot of money for Mazer to be doing it for their very first time.
Well, I think it's certainly not their first time managing a project. They've managed projects much larger than this.
Yes.
The fact that it's in a V zone or it's not, it just requires certain materials and a certain type of construction, but that's what they're there for anyway. So remember, we would pay them to project manage this even if we chose a contractor. They're still our eyes and ears, and they're also enforcing the design specifications. So what we do, in essence, is you have usually, like think about the boardwalk. We had Mazer, then we had the Epic, then we had the people that worked for Epic. All we're doing is sort of taking out that middle layer and having the materials, the labor, do all the work, and they're going to do the work that Mazer designed, and they just manage that work. So all you do is you remove that middle layer, but that middle layer is an expense. And again, I don't begrudge anyone for making money, and God bless them, they should make as much as they can. But if we're able to do it and take out that, I don't want to say middle layer of management, but that's really what it is, and then save a little bit on the cost of the materials. Again, and this is something that we started looking at the end of summer, beginning of fall. And if the bids came in super low and it wasn't worth it, we wouldn't do it. But we think it's worth it, and it's this isn't we're not talking a multi-story building. We're talking in both cases a single-story building. The foundations have to be done right, but again, that's why you have a construction manager who's going to be on site anyway, administering the project to their plan, which again, we'd be paying for anyway. That makes sense?
But we right now we have 2 bids on the table.
We do.
And but we don't like them, correct?
It's not so much that we don't like them, they're murky.
Okay.
The low bid for these projects, so there's 2 bidders, really, to build both the buildings. M&M Construction for a combined contract award of $5.04 million, and Epic for a combined construction value of $5.45 million. So $400,000 separating them. Where this starts to get murky is M&M Construction has told us that they are withdrawing their alternate bid, which is for the decking that surrounds the building. They made an error, they are withdrawing their bid. And so if we were to proceed with awarding the base, so we could only award essentially the base bid, and they are the low bidder for that. We've had many conversations with the the engineer, with our attorneys. There's complications in how these bids were presented and given to us. So Epic Construction right now is the only bidder that gave us a full bid on the base building and the decking and the rails. Okay, complete package. Epic, by the way, is a bidder who has bid on these buildings now 4 times. They're probably pretty accurate in terms of their pricing. But because M&M is the low bid on the base contract, but not the decking, we wouldn't be able to award a full building. We'd end up with one contractor doing the building and another contractor doing the decking around it, 2 pile drivers, trying to integrate levels of boardwalk. It gets very murky and complicated. So it's not even a matter of us not liking the bids so much, Councilman. It's more of a matter of they're very complex. And I don't have a lot of faith in how the bids came out. What we do know is that these buildings are fully designed. They have been vetted for now 3 years. They have passed through every level of scrutiny that you can imagine, from FEMA, from the DEP, to our own internal measures. What we are going to do is follow a path very similar to what Avon did. We would have all of the technical experience that we would if we were bidding the job, and we are in full control of that job. You actually will have greater transparency in this process, because instead of just saying to a contractor, good, go, here's a $5 million contract, just go, you are going to see now resolutions authorizing purchasing of materials, resolutions authorizing going out to bid. Let's say we decide that the one piece of the job that I think, honestly, I wouldn't recommend that we just do, that we pursue a bid package for, is for the pile driving. So we would take a look at all the piles that we need for the foundation work and go out to bid for a pile driver and the acquisition of the piles. Once that's in, then we would start the construction on top of it. So you are going to see me, our engineers, and the resolution speaks very clearly that anytime we have to come back to you, we'll come back to you for approval, for a purchase or rental of equipment or anything of that nature. It's going to be with our engineer's recommendation, a certification of our CFO, and a certification of our purchasing agent that we're following all applicable laws. So you and the public actually are going to get many more touch points in this process in terms of what you see coming across for approval.
Another thing that this eliminates too, which we've seen in the past, are change orders. There's no change orders. If for some reason the price of materials go down, a contract doesn't pass those savings on to you.
Right.
They keep it for themselves, which again, I don't begrudge them, but
that's their job.
they can make more money because the price of lumber went down, then God bless them. But if things go up, that's when they hit us with a change order, saying, well, this went up, or now we have this part that we need to anticipate, and to keep the thing moving, we have to take that into consideration and approve it, otherwise it doesn't keep moving forward. This would eliminate all change orders.
Not that I don't trust you. But I would feel better if I heard from an official from Mazer, if he was here and said that he can do the job as well as a construction company.
Could you have someone contact?
Absolutely.
I mean, we have another meeting like next week, right?
January 7th is the real.
So, I mean, obviously, it's not going to hold back construction if I hear from an official from Mazers and saying, yes, my company can do as good a job building these buildings without the Epic or M&M.
You have somebody
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would tell you, the resolution today is just
to start this process.
to start the process.
So-
What I'm saying, so before we go out for the pile driver, you would have another opportunity to vote on that.
Yes.
So if you vote yes on this, and for some reason I'm a complete liar, and Mazer's like,
I'm not saying you're lying, I'm saying that
I don't know what Doherty's talking about.
I want to hear the guy say it in
Right,
public,
and-
that he can say it, and that he's the head of a company, and he's putting his reputation on the line, because it's going to be a very, out in the open program, everyone's gonna be looking at the rebuilding of our 2 pavilions, as, you know, because we fought so hard over the last couple of years.
This resolution tonight, I think it's important just to really reiterate, it does not reject the bidders.
Doesn't reject them,
We
okay?
still have
It's
time
still,
to
that's
do
still an
that.
option.
That's still an option. This resolution authorizes me to pursue this line.
Okay.
We can certainly bring to our next meeting representatives from Mazars so that you can meet with them and hear what I'm saying from their mouths. That might give a greater comfort level.
No offense, but someone higher up than Nick goes, or, you
Well,
know,
we'll have the right people here.
okay.
Absolutely.
But I think it'd be worthwhile, if you want to, right? It'd
Yeah.
be worthwhile to actually talk to Nick, and be like, listen, Nick.
No, yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
And
So that
feel
when-
free, and I would say this too, I mean, if you want to have, even outside of a council meeting, if you just want to have a
Absolutely.
private conversation with them, feel free to do that. I mean, all the conversations I had with them were, none of them were public, it was all
Right.
in private.
And it might behoove, to Brian's point, to hear it here as well.
And the general public to hear, because I think a lot of people that supported us, and thank you for supporting us for rebuilding the pavilions. Now we're going in a slightly different direction. Could be much better for us, you know, I hope it is. But we've had so much criticism of what we are doing that by changing things, I'm sure we're gonna get hit with an avalanche of
Well, the nice
cries.
thing about our criticism, whether we did change or didn't change it, whether we awarded it, didn't award it, they would still be criticized.
There was always going to be criticism.
Oh, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of criticism over
But I
this.
also think it's a lesson that had we started this and completed it 2 years ago, we wouldn't be in this position anyway.
Right.
So,
I agree, but
Absolutely.
it would make me feel a lot better if I heard it from Mazur saying, yes, Councilman, we can build these 2 pavilions as well. I'm not going to expect them to say better. And we'll have no problem doing it and getting it done on time. We'll get the right people to build it. We'll build it the right way so that FEMA will reimburse us for everything. It'll meet the standards that FEMA requires.
Yes.
And I'm sure these people that bid M&M and Epic are going to be much displeased.
I don't know if they'll be any more displeased than the first 3 times we didn't award a contract out of this process. So, you know, I don't mean to be flippant about it, but I do mean to echo what Matt's saying, which is, at some point, when you're talking about bidding a project 3, now 4 times, I think it's really, it's on the municipality to maybe say it's for us to make sure these buildings get back, put it in our control.
right, and if there's any takeaway, it's that the last 2 years were a waste of time.
Yes,
And the money that we do save is money we don't take on the bond. It just,
exactly right. It's money we don't even need to lend out of the bond.
okay. So we could save ourselves, let's say 10% of $6 million would be
Yeah.
$600,000, and that.
What this really does is make us masters of our own destiny in terms of this project.
Ooh,
Is
I like
that we're in?
that.
No, it does, and it, but you know what?
Did you watch Seinfeld?
Does it also bring with it some risk? I think it would be inappropriate to say it doesn't bring any risk. The largest risk that we identify really is that when you hire a contractor, they have to put into place a performance bond. Where if there is an error in the design or the construction of it down the line, you have a bond that you can go after to try to be reimbursed for. For the municipalities, the GC, there is no bond, right? It's on the full faith and credit of the borough. But as Mr. Northgrave would tell you, recouping those fees on a performance bond are not easy. You usually end up spending most of your time in court paying attorneys to try to get back a fraction of what was lost. So, you know, I'm not going to cherry cook this. I don't want to gloss this over. There is risk in taking this on, mainly in the area of the performance bond. But it's a calculated risk.
I had a couple of questions.
It's,
One of the things when I was in the committee, we were looking at ways to lower the cost of the building. The decking part of it never really came up because we all knew we had to do decking. So am I to understand that the decking has to have piles underneath it as well?
yes.
And ideally, all the piles should be done at the same time, so we know them. Why can't we, as part of the specs on the bid, require that the decking part of the job be included in like, you know, how the one bidder has separated out, taken their alternate bid out? why can't we say there can't be an alternate bid? We need them all done at the same time. That's one question I had.
We could, I mean, that would be something to consider if we go out to bid for a
Yeah.
fourth time.
Okay.
However, part of the reason for delineating that bid was strategic, which was to ensure that we have all options at our disposal in terms of the cost of those pilings and deckings. You know, really, I believe that decking and those piles are a continuation of the existing boardwalk, not necessarily part of the building construction.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a slightly different approach. But that is something we could consider if we were to go out a fourth time.
Okay, okay. I had another question. Like, my brother is an architect, but and he's never actually, huh? Two. One's an attorney, one's an architect, and one's a teacher. Well, I'm not that smart. I should have been an architect and a lawyer. What can I tell you? Anyway, one of the things, what he does, he doesn't actually design buildings. So when he started working after he got his degree, because he had experience as a contractor, he ended up getting the job of being like a project manager, because he had experience dealing with labor unions, and he could go down, he knew how to read a blueprint and get things done. And now that's basically what he does. He works with financial firms and manages the properties. Does Mazer have somebody like that?
Mhm.
Would that be the person that we would be talking to?
Our person on the ground on these projects is there are different terms for it. Some people call it a clerk of the works, which is somebody who is really in charge of ensuring that every piece is being coordinated and integrated together, that you're not bringing on workers before the supplies have even arrived, right? There's a great deal of coordination that needs to happen, and that's what this person will be doing.
Yeah, that's what
They have construction management experience, and they'll be providing that project management, clerk of the works service for us.
Okay. Well, then my last question is really kind of about the process. I mean, one of the questions would be, we're the GC, and there's an issue that has to be resolved. Who has to make the call about that? Would it be you, or would it be this person from Mazer, or?
It would essentially be based on what the issue is. Certainly from a cost threshold perspective, whether we buy materials off the state contract or go out to bid, that's a decision for council.
Okay.
You'll get a recommendation from me, you'll get a recommendation from the engineer and the CFO, but it's your decision.
Okay.
So financially, there are thresholds for the bidding process that would go to council. If it's a personnel or a labor dispute, this person is essentially going to be a department head reporting to me. It would be, as of right now, the police department reports to me, DPW reports to me, the V-Trump reports to me, the administration reports to me. This would essentially be a department head reporting to me.
Okay.
There would be certain things that they can resolve on the ground, other things that they need to come to me for.
Okay.
And then again, when we talk about costs, materials, and contracts and thresholds, we'll be coming to you.
And we would be trying to do it, the idea being, we would be looking for the most efficient way to do it.
Yes.
You know, something that's going to save time and money.
Exactly.
And basically, they would be saying, okay, now we're doing this, and so it's time to order the stuff we need for the next step, and we can keep things moving along with no lag time or anything like that. All right, you know, I'm all for saving money, absolutely. I mean, especially after what we went through, you know, the stuff I heard, sure, anything. And I'm not proud about saying, yeah, you were right, we're gonna go back and try what Avalon did, and now we're gonna see if we can save some money. Now that we know we can actually do the job, let's just move ahead with the cheapest thing. I'm fine with that. One thing, I mean, you're selling it with the transparency, and we're gonna know, you know, there's something to be said for not knowing how the sausage gets made. I mean, that was what was attractive to me about having a general contractor. Like, good, go do it. You're in charge, and I don't want to know, you know, just make sure the building gets built right, and if it gets screwed up, it's on you. But as long as, it feels to me like what we're doing is really like keeping our options open. You know, we're just adding another option, and as long as we're still thinking, you know, I don't want to have to go out to bid. But if it starts to look like this is a little too complicated, then I wouldn't be. Again, I wouldn't be afraid to go out to bid again either. I'm not proud about that either. I'm not too proud to try to do that.
No, and I would agree that if this doesn't look like we can do it, we would go out to rebid. But I can tell you, the amount of time that I've put into this, I think that this is, and I've been do it ourselves. And I'm very confident. And just like you guys, I fought hard to get these pavilions, the funding in place. I'm very confident we can do this. Start sometime in January, maybe beginning of February. Be done hopefully in the 2016 calendar year. Whether we can or not. Oh, sure.
Did the bidders not understand the bid? You said M&M then pulled out.
They made errors in different areas. I don't think it was necessarily it wasn't the same mistake made by all the bidders.
And you may not know this answer, has either Epic or M&M built in a V zone before, built something? I know Epic did the boardwalk,
Sure.
but have they built a building in a V zone before? Do you know?
I don't know.
And Mr. Torrance still works for us and knows an awful lot about FEMA and FEMA regulations.
FEMA regulations and rezone construction.
So during construction, would Mr. Torrance be spending most of his working day down on the beach area or involved in this project
Just
as opposed
all-
to other things
Sure.
that he does right now?
Just as Mr. Torrance would have been inspecting, let's say, M&M in the construction of that, he would be inspecting us. They hold us to the same standards.
Okay. Then I'm comfortable with all of this. I think he knows as much as anybody else about flooding and about FEMA and about regulations. And as long as he's there and is able to say, stop right now, this is wrong, it needs to be done this way. And I think whether it's a construction company, Epic or M&M, or us doing it, I think it would be almost the same thing. If we're buying materials through the state, they're getting a good purchase price because of the amount, as opposed to us buying.
And the nice thing too, they already
Just a little
vetted
bit.
the contractors.
So,
Yeah, their suppliers are already vetted, they've gotten volume pricing, so we get the benefit of that.
and as long as the time frame for it being completed is approximately the same, I'm very comfortable with going through with this today.
So it sounds like the rub would be the piling part.
That's the piece that I think I would feel most comfortable knowing that somebody who drives piles for a living is the one who drove the piles for our buildings.
All right, I just, and we've discussed this at length, my only concern with the piling is, the pile driving is, everything else we can get off state contract. Everything else, when you hire carpenters, electricians, plumbers, they come with their tools, I don't know if we can necessarily rent a pile driver.
No.
You can, I don't know if I want to.
And I'd rather just give it to someone, even if we bought, if we all remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, we bought the pilings for the boardwalk off of state contract.
Epic did, actually.
Epic.
Epic.
So but in this case, we can buy them off state contract, maybe save a little bit of money there, and just bring someone in. Again, Mazer would tell them where to put the piles, how many piles to put in, how far to drive them,
Just as they did with boardwalk.
just to do the
They would
boardwalk.
supervise the whole thing.
And then they take their pile driver, they get off our beach, and that's when it becomes simpler for us to buy materials and bring on labor, because you don't need to rent, you don't need to rent a crane for
Sure.
6 weeks or 6 months.
Well, and again, while the piles are being driven is when we would be placing our orders
And we would be using those concrete pilings with the steel reinforcement and all that. Okay.
Just as it's designed.
just as it's going to be built exactly as it is designed.
Anything else on this, or?
And we're talking about building both buildings at the same
Simultaneously.
time?
Yeah.
So pile driver would come in
Yes.
once and sit on this beach and then drive down and sit on that?
And then,
So we're looking at the summer of construction. The
well,
marina and the beach.
The hope is to,
you've got a lot of, that's true, you've got a lot of construction.
Lot of
Hey,
construction
there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You live with it for a while and you see what's coming. and
But what would be nice,
Keep your eyes on it.
up on the beachfront, again, if we get the piles put in, right, and then we can, start building it, if by the summer, you know, we have walls and somewhat of a roof up, and then everyone else is, you know, think about little, you know, little worker bees just working inside and outside. You know, I think if people see, you know, contractor trucks, it's not a big deal. People see cranes and pile drivers, and, you know, that's a little less relaxing on the beach. But we're pretty confident that we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Anything else for a workshop? No? All right. Next are petitions. Any petitions for the council? See any? Approval of the minutes.
I'll take care of that. I move that the minutes of the meeting held on December 1st, 2015 be approved as reported, and that a copy thereof be posted on the borough's website.
Second.
Councilman Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Chair Howard?
Yes. Next, report to council.
Okay. I'll keep the ball in my court. Talking about ball in the court, the gym is looking great. The gym floor early in the fall was refinished. Looks like a brand new gym floor. New lights were installed. You can actually see when they're turned on. It was terrific. They were the original lights when the gym first opened back in 1986. So they last a long time, but they needed to be upgraded. I was talking with Jennifer, Councilwoman Nicolay. We were in the gym and we were speaking that we look around at the walls probably need a little refreshing. So we would like to get together with somebody, maybe the Arts Council, and have some people come in and paint some, like say, pictures of, you know, someone shooting a basketball or something like that on the wall. So just to refresh it for the gym to match with the floor and the lights. I was looking at the bills for us. The Humane Society, we paid another $1,400 this month, and all told, they took care of 1 cat, 4 birds, 3 of which were seagulls, a squirrel, and a possum for $1,400. That sounds, and each month, I don't know if you can cancel them or what the story is, but $1,400 for just a couple of small animals. So maybe we'll kick that around sometime. What do they do with the squirrel? They probably caught it and then let it go on the next block.
We have a year-to-year contract with that?
We do. It's something often discussed amongst municipalities because it's a common complaint.
Yeah.
With our neighboring municipalities as well. I know there was talk several years ago about the towns getting together to essentially perform their own services in partnership. The difficult, I think it is, as expensive it is to pay the Humane Society, it would be very expensive also to do that other method. But it's something that we could revisit.
Yeah.
Are they a flat fee, whether it's?
Yeah, it's basically $1,400 a month. So, you know, for a whole year, it's over $15,000 for, and nothing, you know, it was a stray cat that the Humane Society picked up. You know, there's 4 birds, 3 of them seagulls. They probably found seagulls down by the beach, you know. A squirrel probably near a tree, and a possum, you know, I don't know. So that's really not, I wouldn't say cost effective. But there's nothing else you can do.
It's extremely expensive, but there could be something else to pursue. It just would require.
Yeah, are they the only game in town?
This is essentially what.
Yeah.
Um,
Wait, let Brian finish his report first.
You're trying to take my thunder, huh,
I'm
Jen?
sorry, no,
Yeah.
not from you. You're
Not a problem. I was driving along the marina, and the dredging seems to be going very well. Just that section of the marina, let's keep it in the back of our mind, from like the boat ramp to like the K-dock, seriously needs to be repaved.
Yes.
I mean, you know, it's really just torn apart. So and I know the marina is going to be, next 18 months is going to be under construction here, there, everywhere. But, you know, we should have it prepared that when we reopen it, we get that repaved.
DPW actually secured a really phenomenal price to repave that section, utilizing County of Monmouth. However, it makes more sense to wait for all of that heavy machinery and activity to come to an end before we do pave.
Agreed.
So again, DPW is doing a great job. If you notice, they dump gravel and they try to stabilize that road as much as possible. Once we get through construction, that's a priority for us to pave.
Okay. Now, I see on one of our resolutions today, special events, the Seafood Festival, and the date was changed. We're just, advertising the Saturday and Sunday.
Yes.
I just would like to, and it won't take up time in today's meeting, sit down with the police department and find out what their traffic plans are, so that we don't get into a problem we had last year and doesn't prevent the people that live on South Lake Drive, 7th Avenue, North Lake Drive, 5th Avenue, can get to their homes.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to see what that is.
Man, those high maintenance people on South Lake Drive.
I tell you, my neighbor. and finally, the Jersey Shore just lost a fantastic lifeguard on Christmas Day. His name was Mike Fowler. He worked for Belmar for a couple of years. His two sons worked for Belmar. I wouldn't put him on the same tier as a Howard Rowland, but he's on the next level right below it. He worked for over 50 years, and Colleen, Ray's probably going to come and ask you if they can use the lifeguard truck to be in the, thing for his funeral. His wake is at Riley's, and if we could just grant Ray and those people that drive the truck, that'd be terrific.
Absolutely.
Karina's already been down, Brian, he's already been interviewed.
Oh, really? Terrific. That's, yeah, Mike was a super nice guy. Well deserved. Okay. Take the thunder there, Jess.
Question on the Humane Society, since Brian brought it up. Does that, if we opted out, would that not have them come in case of a dog bite?
Yes.
So,
It's all the services.
yeah, okay, because that's an important service, I think, right there. As for happier things, the library staff did a wonderful job a couple of weeks ago. Frank Sinatra was there, Elvis Presley was there for one song. The refreshments were fantastic, and the weather, you just couldn't beat it. So the library staff, thank you very much. And thank you to the First Aid Squad and Water Rescue. They had a senior brunch on the 19th. About 80 people attended that. Everyone had a good, very good time. And the singer they brought in was very, very good too. And I'd just like to wish everybody a happy New Year. Oh, I'm sorry. Walking in the gym, speaking of the gym, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 until 2. And tomorrow it's supposed to pour rain, so you can't use the boardwalk. So come to the gym. Sorry.
Councilman Brad?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Only a couple of things from me. One thing is, I just wanted to note that in the special events resolution that the Belmar Drum Circle is going to be now at 14th Avenue. I love the drum circle. I know I'm not, some people don't, but I love the drum circle, and I wish I could go more often. I just wanted to share with people, something was, a person I know who's very well schooled in environmental issues that I'm married to, sent me something about the C-Bin project. It's an automated rubbish bin specifically designed to pick up trash, including fuel oil and detergents in marinas. I have only had, she just sent it to me yesterday, but I'm going to take a look at it. The idea being that it definitely keeps things clean. One of the things about our marina is sometimes around the docks it gets not so attractive. I haven't seen any pricing on it yet. That's the next thing I have got to see how the pricing works, but it's designed so that it runs 24/7, 365. It's able to be maintained by one person. You can empty it out, and when it gets full, it keeps working. Even when it's full of trash, it keeps on working, so it's not the kind of thing where if it gets full, it breaks. And again, really, it comes down to how much it's going to cost. If it's cost effective, as far as keeping our marina clean, and the idea being that point source solution starts in places like the marina, it keeps the garbage from going out into the ocean. That's the main thing, that's what you want to start doing. So that's really all I have to share. I'll have more about that in the future.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I disagree with Councilman Brennan. I'm not a big fan of the drum So you try it?
Is it really is it 14th Avenue this year, or was that a typo?
No, 14th Avenue. Part of the issue is that we need to plan for these construction footprints and for the.
Yeah, we can't have them with it before.
So some of the.
But do you remember the
concepts-
shade tree, the shade structure where we got the problems from the people in that area? I don't know if they're gonna like this drum circle.
That was actually gonna be, 17,
You're right, 7th Avenue.
17, okay.
which is still a good idea. So anyway, I have nothing else to report except that I respectfully disagree with my colleague. Next are resolutions.
Public session for resolution?
Public session for resolution. So any comments, questions on the resolution calendar? We're gonna have two. We're gonna have the first one and then the consent agenda. We're gonna have so. Any public comments, questions on the resolution calendar? Please raise your hand. Please hold on. Yes, sir.
Happy holidays, everybody. Gene Kramer, 4th Avenue. Actually, I guess I have questions and comments. First one, resolution awarding telecommunication facility. The second one being the resolution opting out of Monmouth County Tax Board mandatory assessment program. And the third one is resolution that you discussed before about construction of the pavilions. None of these is routine business. I'm just wondering, can you pull these from your consent agenda and come back to them?
We're not going to now.
Resolution by consent are supposed to be routine business. If it's not routine business, it should not be on the consent agenda. However,
We're not going to.
maybe I'll ask a question. The resolution for awarding of the telecommunications contract, I saw this before, that's with Verizon.
They won the low bid, yes. The high bid, I guess.
Okay. They recently got approval from the zoning board of approval to locate on top of the Bank of America building over here at the corner of 9th and Main. Are they going to continue with both facilities, or are they going to come here and abandon that site? Does anyone know that?
It's all part of the same, but both projects are going forward.
Both projects. Oh, okay. Are there any improvements that have to be made or attachments made to the Belmar telecommunications tower that we have here back in the police department?
Verizon will be installing all necessary equipment.
Okay. The reason I mention that is that the tower behind this building is reaching its end of its useful life. Quite truthfully, if there's any power with telecommunications facilities here, I certainly would encourage mayor and council to try to get a new tower out of it. But this one here, I think we've been lucky. It's showing signs of deterioration. Like I said, it's at the end of its useful life. I'm familiar with them. I can tell just by visual observation. The second resolution here that I had marked off originally, actually, this business of opting out of the tax assessment program. I'm back at the same question here that I had when this was originally brought up. The council had taken action and adopted a resolution asking for a suspension of the tax assessment program. And from what I've read and heard, Manasquan has opted out. However, that there is no change. If anybody has expectations of a rollback, that's not occurring. I guess what I'd like to know here is, what are we trying to accomplish? What do we hope to accomplish by opting out of this tax assessment program? You know, what's the goal here?
Well, the goal is to opt out of that program. It's a pilot program. We're the only county that has it. It doesn't seem to work well, so why would we continue with it?
Well, number one, I guess what was the motivation here is a lot of people were unhappy that their assessments were raised. Mine was raised, Councilman McGovern's was raised, Councilman Brendan, yours was raised also.
Mine was lower.
Your assessment was reduced, $80,000.
Right.
I think there's no wonder why you would like to see a suspension being froze. In other words, your assessment was reduced. You would like to see a suspension. In other words,
Gee, it
nobody-
suspends
nobody-
the program, it doesn't suspend tax assessments. They would still continue. If you think I'm doing this for my own personal gain, I would tell you to contact the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office.
I wasn't accusing you of that. I'm just saying is that where do
You are, so
where
contact the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office.
where do we expect this to go?
To go back to what it was before.
In other words, our assessments were raised. In fact, most of the town was raised 2.7% residential. Commercial went down about 6.5%. Okay? If we suspend it, it's going to stay there for at least probably 10 years until individuals file appeals of those assessments. There is no rollback. At least under the pilot program, there's the guarantee of at least a 5-year cycle that evaluations will be reassessed. I don't see this as being a benefit to anybody that has residential property in Belmar, except for those who already had gotten a reduction in their assessment.
Thank you.
Well, I guess I'd like you to explain to us how that's going to
I don't
work.
think it's gonna, I don't think I'll be able to explain it. What's your other comments?
Yes, I do. The resolution on the authorizing the construction of the I guess my first item here is Mesa Consulting, and you can all do this after the meeting. I encourage you to take a look at Maser's website, where normally consultants like this embellish their capabilities, okay? Nowhere on their website do they advertise or sell project management. Furthermore, I don't think there's anybody on their staff that's a professional project manager. The other thing about the bidding, and I don't know that much about it other than what I read in the paper, was it appeared to me that this was asking people to bid on a Chinese menu, not knowing what the customer was going to split. That's not the way. Why not be specific as to what the town wants, and then maybe you'll get firm bids. And quite truthfully, when the bids came in, I felt I was going to be a victim of bitter collusion, especially when you get few bids like that. Actually, the one that, without having any of the details, was this Altec. One thing good about their bid, there would have been no project license, labor required, because they would have been below the $5 million threshold. And also would have been for the 10th Avenue Pavilion. They were below the price. As far as M&M, whether they made an error or we made an error, if M&M had made an error, did we collect on their bid security? What was it, $20,000? Did they make an error
They made it matter.
They made it.
Did we collect on the bid security?
I don't believe we have.
I appreciate it. If we did, then we would perhaps be $20,000 richer.
Perhaps.
Thank you.
And just for the record, Mazer does construction management, which is also known as project management. They've done many jobs in Belmar. Whether or not they advertise out on the front page of their website is immaterial. It's what they do. It's what all those engineering firms do. Yes, ma'am?
Mary Hall from Maplewood Road. First of all, I'm still on the record as opposed to the complete construction of the Keller Pavilion. And I am not against Belmar. I was born at Dipkin Hospital. I've been here since birth, on and off. My family is still here in the same property. And I speak for a lot of people who say that this is foolish to build on the Atlantic Ocean again. And I don't know how many people remember this, but many years ago, on 16th Avenue opposite Dunkin' Donuts, there used to be a pier that went all the way up to the jetty. Does everyone remember that? History of that? And it was out there, and at the end of the jetty was a little diner. My mother said they had blueberry pie specials on Wednesday for 5 cents or something crazy. But then the storm came and knocked that down, and the pier was shortened where it went from the boardwalk out to the start of the jetty. And then another storm came, and then that was removed. So I think that smarter, wiser people prevailed in realizing that you can't fight Mother Nature and the ocean because now it's so much more expensive. Even back then, they did not rebuild that pier, and they did not put another restaurant out at the end of the jetty because they realized that it was foolish and they didn't have that same kind of money. Now, I know that we cannot completely insure these public buildings, that we have to be self-insured, and if we were properly fully self-insured, we wouldn't be looking to FEMA for all this money anyway. But that's a whole second issue. And then also, I have been a clerk of the works in Jersey City for a developer for 5 years, and they are not, I was not the project manager. They're a special entity. My job was taking care of sending out revisions on drawings, spec sheets, signing in subcontractors, signing in security, signing in thousands of windows. But that was a very particular job from the people that were project managers. They are licensed, bonded, and they are a very specific, experienced entity. So if someone were to do this again, since the devil is in the details, and there's so much cost involved in scaffolding and security fencing and security itself, there's all these little, these other groups of pockets of money that the costs become prohibitive and actually change the price of the project. And I haven't heard that people are taking into account all these things. So I think it should be someone who's experienced at building this kind of building in this environment, and should have it's not something to be taken lightly, because it could bankrupt our town more in this whole project. So I'm not in favor of it, but if it's going ahead, I would like to see actual professionals that take care of this and do this. And I think you're being short-sighted in thinking that this is a project that Belmar can handle, on top of everything else that you do. I think that this is a job for some kind of subcontractor that is bonded and also has a performance component of it, so that you know that these costs, if they go over, will be on someone else's responsibility than on the taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions on the resolution calendar? Yes, ma'am.
Trina Klapsis, 1304 B Street. Hello, Happy New Year almost. I like the drums, but I'm wondering why they're being moved to my area in 14th Street. It seems we have a yellow trailer, bright orange trailer, and other assorted things. We had the lemon for a long time and finally moved away, and I'm just wondering, I'm not opposed to the drums, I actually like them, but why does everything have to come south? Why are we going south? Why are we going on to 14th? Is it just an arbitrary number?
Most beaches have some kind of activity on them. Movies are on 8th,
Yeah.
We needed
it's
to
not-
move it somewhere out of the path
There's
of
really not a whole
construction.
lot between 16th and 10th. One playground, 12.
And again, we're gonna be in a year of construction, so a lot of things are going to have to shift around.
Yeah.
Brookdale music concerts are gonna have to be shifted, north or
There's
south.
construction at 5th.
Yeah.
Oh, so the Brookdale's gonna have to move also? Yeah, because they're at Fifth right now, right? But what about up at the north end where they have that little,
They used to be
thing that
there.
sticks out?
They used to be there.
Which would seem to make sense that you get the people off of the boardwalk.
Well, we had too much activity there. We had the
There's Zumba there.
Zumba there,
So
yeah,
there were
so
bonfires
the
there.
neighbors in the bonfires, that area asked us to, you know,
Spread it out.
spread it out.
Spread the love
Yeah.
around.
So we moved them to Fifth Avenue last year, and now they can be there at Fifth Avenue, so we have to move them somewhere else, so,
All right, that's all I got.
thank you.
It was up to me, we moved them off the boardwalk.
Oh.
Clearly, it's not up to me.
Follow them anywhere.
Oh,
Me
Not up to
too.
me. No.
I'm not on the end of the fishing club pier.
How about right at the entrance?
People get together and drum. It's very cool.
It's insane. Yes, ma'am.
Like, okay, Tom?
Good morning, everybody. How was your holidays?
Just name and address for the record and it's on the resolution calendar.
Okay, I just want to know, I don't see Mr.
No, name and record for the, you have to state your name and your address.
My name and address, you don't know. All right, Canelia de la Puertas, 1002 Main Street, Belmar.
And now, do you have any comments or questions on the resolution?
I just don't see a couple times Mrs. Boy, and I want to know as well, okay? Or something happens, so it's not anymore.
She's well. Thank you for asking. She's well.
They are the whole family, okay?
Good. I hope so. I don't know. Yeah.
That's all my concern.
Any other comments or questions on the resolution calendar? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public portion for the resolution calendar.
Second that?
All in favor?
Aye.
First resolution, which is not on the consent agenda, resolution authorizing construction of the 5th and 10th Avenue Pavilion. I'll offer.
I'll second.
Councilwoman Field Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman McGilvert?
Yes, on condition that we get someone from Mazer here to speak to us at the next possible meeting, for the workshop. Then yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes, with the same condition.
Mayor Larry?
Yes. Next is the consent agenda. I will offer the consent agenda.
Second.
Councilwoman Field Blackburn?
Yes.
Councilman McGilvert?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Mayor Larry?
Yes. Next is public portion. Any comments, questions from the public? Please come on up the microphone, and we'll get 5 minutes. Let's start it. Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public portion and adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Are you playing?
No cover.